This New York Times article was written on July 5th, 2022. Christian nationalists are excited about what comes next. Kathleen Stewart. The shape of Christian nationalist movement in the post-Roe future is coming into view, and it should terrify anyone concerned with the future of constitutional democracy. Oh, neighbors are home. The Supreme Court's decision to rescind the reproductive rights that American women have enjoyed over the past half century will not lead Americans' homegrown religious authoritarians to retire from the cultural wars and enjoy a sweet moment of triumph. On the contrary, movement leaders are already preparing for a new and more brutal phase of their assault on individual rights and democratic self-governance. Breaking American democracy isn't an unintended side effect of Christian nationalism. It is the point of the project. A good place to gauge the spirit and intentions of the movement that brought us to the radical majority on the Supreme Court is the annual Road to Majority Policy Conference at this year's event, which took place last month in Nashville. Three clear trends were in evidence. First, the rhetoric of violence among the movement leaders have appeared to increase significantly from the already alarming levels I had observed in previous years. Second, the theology of Dominionism, that is, the belief of right thinking, Christians have a biblically derived mandate to take control of all aspects of government and society, is now explicitly embraced. And third, the movement's key strategists were giddy about the legal arsenal that the Supreme Court had laid at their feet. They anticipated the overturning of Roe v. Wade. They intend to use that arsenal together with additional weaponry collected in cases like Carson versus Macon, which requires state funding of religious schools if private secular schools are also being funded, and Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, which licensed religious proselytizing by public school officials to prosecute a war on individual rights, not merely in so-called red state legislators, but throughout the nation. Although metaphors of battle are common enough in political gatherings, this year's rhetoric appeared more violent, more graphic, and more tightly focused on fellow Americans rather than on geopolitical foes. The greatest danger to America is not our enemies from the outside, as powerful as they may be, said former President Donald Trump, who delivered a keynote address at the event. The greatest danger to America is the destruction of our nation from the people within. And you know the people I'm talking about. Speakers at the conference vied to outdo one another in their denigration of the people that Mr. Trump was evidently talking about. Democrats said they are evil, tyrannical, and the enemy within, engaged in a war against the truth. The backlash is coming, warned Senator Rick Scott of Florida. Just mount up and ride to the sounds of the guns, and they are all over this country. It is time to take this country back. Citing the fight against Nazi Germany during the Battle of Bulge, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina said, "We find ourselves in a pitched battle to literally save this nation," referring to a passage from Ephesians that Christian nationalists often use to signal their militants. He added, "I don't know about you, but I've got my pack on, I've got my boots on, I've got my helmet on, I've got on the whole armor." It is not a stretch to link this rise in verbal aggression to the disinformation campaign to indoctrinate the Christian nationalist base in the lie that the 2020 election was stolen, along with what we're learning from January 6th hearings. See how they're stacking all this evidence up against us and lumping us all together in the same category? The movement is preparing patriots for the continuation of the assault on democracy in 2022 and 2024. The intensification of verbal warfare is connected to the shifts in which the Christian nationalist movement's message and outreach, which were very much in the evidence at the Nashville Conference. Seven Mountains Dominionism, the belief that biblical Christians should seek to dominate the seven key mountains or molders of the American society, including the government, was once considered a fringe doctrine, even among representatives of the religious right. At the last year's Road to Majority conference, however, there was a breakout session devoted to the topic. This year, there were 2 sessions, and the once arcane language of the Seven Mountains Creed was on multiple speakers' lips. The hunger for dominion that appears to motivate the leadership of the movement is the essential context for making sense of its strategy and intentions in the post-Roe world. The end of abortion rights is the beginning of the new and much more personal attack on individual rights. So, do you see the agenda of the overturn now? It's not like they suddenly love babies, because everyone can still kill their babies, but what they did by doing that is made Christians look very radical and like we want to take away everybody's rights, everybody's free will. And when you go out on posts and you cheer it on, doesn't make us look good, doesn't make us look any better. It just makes this article seem more true. It makes us look crazy. And indeed, it is personal. Much of the rhetoric on the right invokes visions of vigilante justice. This is about good guys with guns or neighbors with good eavesdropping skills, heroically taking on the pernicious behavior of their fellow citizens. Among the principal battlefields will be the fallopian tubes and uteruses of women. Fallopian. At a breakout section called Life is on the Line, What Does the Future of the Pro-Life Movement Look Like from Here? Chelsea Uman, the Texas State Director and National Legislative Advisor to Human Coalition Action, a Texas-based anti-abortion organization with a national strategic focus, described the connections between vigilantes and abortion rights. Instead of the state regulating abortion providers, she explained, you and me, as citizens of Texas or this country, wherever we can pass this bill, can instead sue the abortion provider. Mrs. Uman, as it happens, played a role in promoting the Texas law, Senate Bill 8, which passed in May 2021 and allows private citizens to sue abortion providers and anyone who aids or abets in abortion. She was exultant over the likely passage of similar laws across the nation. We have legislation ready to roll out for every single state you live in to protect life, regardless of the Supreme Court, regardless of your circuit court. To be sure, Christian nationalists are also pushing for a federal ban, but the struggle for the present will center on the state level enforcement mechanisms. Movement leaders have also made it clear that the target of their ongoing offensive is not just in-state abortion providers, but also what they call abortion trafficking. That is, women crossing state lines to obtain legal abortions, along with the people who provide those women with services or support like cars and taxis. Mrs. Human hailed, maybe it's Yaman, I don't know, hailed the development of a new long-arm jurisdiction bill that offers a mechanism for targeting out-of-state abortion providers. See, if people are doing that, they just shouldn't be. Like, just let the woman do what she wants to do. And I think it's wrong too. I think it's murder too. But it also is not my body. It creates a wrongful death cause of action. So we're excited about that. The National Right to Life's Committee model legislation for the post-Roe era includes broad criminal enforcement as well as civil enforcement mechanisms. The model law also reaches well beyond the actual performance of an illegal abortion. According to text on the organization's website, it also includes aiding or abetting an illegal abortion, targeting people who provide instructions over the telephone, the internet, or any other medium of communication. See, that's dumb. It's just stupid. And I do love Jesus, and I do want all these babies to be born, but you guys, like, if Christians are really doing that, then you're really not Christians, because you don't want people telling you what to do with your bodies. Mrs. Yauman, I'm changing the way I pronounce her name, it's Yauman now, further made clear that Christian nationalists will target the pills used for medication abortions. Our next big bill is going to make the Heartbeat Act look more tame, you guys. They're going to freak out, she said. It's designed specifically to siphon off these illegal pills. You know, they never should have made the pills. The girls shouldn't be taking the pills, but we have to remember God is the one that gave us free will. And they do make them, and we do have free will. Americans who stand outside the movement have consistently underestimated its radicalism, but this movement has been explicitly anti-democrat and anti-American for a long time. It is also a mistake to imagine that Christian nationalism is a social movement arising from the grassroots and aiming to satisfy the real needs at its base. It isn't. This is a leader-driven movement. The leaders set an agenda, and their main goals are power and access to public money. They aren't serving the interests of their base. They are exploiting their base as a means of exploiting the rest of us. Christian nationalism isn't a route to the future. Its purpose is to hollow out democracy until nothing is left but a thin cover for rule, but a supposedly right-thinking elite, bubble-wrapped in sanctimony and insulted from any real democratic check on its power. So if you think that this latest decision was a win, it really wasn't. We all lose, because it creates division and it makes us all look bad. Same thing with the Georgia Guidestones. No one wins, we all lose. As long as we are divided, then we all are losing. And guess who's winning? Satan. Satan is winning. Is that what you guys want? Stop following these movements and stop being divided. Stop criticizing each other. Let everybody use the free will that God gave them and let it be between them and God. Stop spewing your opinions all over the place and pray more, judge less, and love each other. The Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself, and he doesn't say, love your neighbor as yourself if he's a perfect Christian. if he believes the exact same way that you believe, if he is the same color as you, if he's the same religion as you. It doesn't say any of that, does it? Does it say love your neighbor only if he's straight? Nope, it doesn't say that either, does it? So now let's look at some of the comments. Be Jesus. Imagine being in heaven for eternity with these people. No thanks. Maybe someone should have thought it was a bad idea to put a member of a Christian religious cult on the Supreme Court. Christian nationalism is an oxymoron. Stop calling them Christian. They are unchristian nationalists, authoritarians, seditionists, terrorists. When authoritarian, loving Christians force a 10-year-old who's been raped to endure a full-term pregnancy and delivery, it's time to let them know they're not only cruel, but they're acting exactly like the rapist who used his power over a helpless child to forcibly rape her. Christians with these evil, questionable minds have become dangerous. All women are now slaves. Evangelical Christianity is a false religion of money and politics. Can't say you're wrong. I hope gender traitors are paying attention because they are coming for you next. Please, I beg of you, New York Times, do not call these people Christians. They are anything but. Let's be more definitive. White Christian nationalists pose a threat to America. Christians who don't care about others while celebrating selfishness and greed doesn't sound very Christian. Very likely a cover for fascism. My main takeaway from this article is that there are two snakes. There's a light snake and a dark snake, and Trump seems to be on the light side and Biden seems to be on the dark side, but they are both snakes. At the end of the day, this whole Seven Mountains religious movement, they're just another snake.